The other day, I got up really early in the morning. I went to this location that I've been to many a time, but I haven't been to in like 9 months ever since the sun decided to start coming out a little earlier. I took a couple of rows of some new film that I'm testing out for a later video, and I wanted to take some shots of this beautiful sunrise. Thinking of the sunrise, shooting these shots on both my cameras. I also have a new camera that I'm testing out here, which is a Key F60. Video to come soon. I was thinking about my 1 year anniversary of shooting exclusively on film. To give a little backstory, I've always shot photos. I shot digitally for a very long time. But about 2 years ago, I was looking for something different. So I decided to take up Super 8. In taking up Super 8, I really loved the video aspect of film. I started shooting a lot of Super 8. I even made a couple of videos on this channel talking about Super 8. But I got really tired of buying one cassette of film for $50, get it developed for $50, having to wait 2 to 3 weeks to see 2.5 minutes of footage. It was just taking a really long time. So I had the option to either buy a digital camera for about $2,000 or buy a film camera for about $500. And the film camera that I wanted to buy was the Mamiya C330. I ended up going with buying the film camera, and as they say, the rest is history. About 100 cameras later, about almost 200, maybe 300 rolls of film later, here I am a year later talking to you about film on this YouTube channel. And it got me thinking about what are some tips that I would give to anyone who's just starting off on their journey shooting film, or somebody who's thinking about jumping into film and getting a film camera and shooting that first roll of film. So here are 5 tips that I have for anyone who's thinking of making that jump or who's already made that jump. And yeah, let's talk about it. The first thing I'd say is try everything. When I say try everything, I mean try all the different film formats, try all the different film stocks, try all the different cameras that you can get your hands on. I've tried a lot of cameras. I've tried medium format, I've tried large format, I've tried 35 millimeter. For me, I've come to the conclusion of what I like. I've been fortunate enough to have the funds to be able to not only buy, but I buy and sell cameras all the time. My cameras are always coming in and going out. And the only camera that I've really kept with me is the Leica M2. Now, I like this camera because it fits the style of shooting that I like to do, which is fast, quick pace. All I have to do is range focus, zone focus, take the shot, and keep it moving. I love street photography. And also, it's just the phase that I'm in right now. There's a phase that I really liked slow paced photography, and the medium format cameras really suited me during those times. I really liked the Pentax 6x7 and the RZ67 during those times. But once I switched to a different style of photography, then I switched my cameras. When it comes to different film stocks, there's so many different film stocks out there in black and white and a little limited in color, and the prices are definitely going up. But I'll definitely suggest trying as much as possible so you can know the one that's right for you. The second thing I'd say is start cheap. I wouldn't necessarily say to start with the point and shoot camera, but if you don't have any other option, get a point and shoot camera. But I would suggest starting with a DSLR camera, mostly because it teaches you more about the film stock that you're shooting. You're going to have to learn to use the camera. You're going to learn the intricacies of the camera. You're not just sticking film in the camera and taking a shot. Shooting with a manual DSLR camera with a manual lens and having to change the shutter speed and aperture is going to teach you a lot more than using a point and shoot camera. And you can get a cheap camera like a Pentax K1000, the Canon AE1, and there's so many different options within that variation that you can get so you can get started and start shooting film. The third thing is learn your exposure. Learn your exposure triangle. And once you learn your exposure triangle, I would say expose for the shadows. When it comes to shooting film, film is really good in protecting the highlights, but depending on the film stock that you shoot with, the shadows are not always protected. When you learn your exposure triangle, you're going to understand what I mean. You have your shutter speed, ISO, and your f-stop. All those 3 things play a role when it comes to exposing your film. And once you start learning how to expose your film correctly, always expose for the shadows, especially when it comes to color film. You really don't have that much variation in the shadows, but with film, you always are protected in the highlights, not more than 3, 4, maybe 5 stops, depending on the film stock. But it's always better to overexpose than to underexpose. The fourth thing that I would suggest is keep your negatives. Not only keep your negatives, but also organize your negatives. Because I see some people when I go to the camera store saying, hey, I don't need my negatives. You can destroy them. And I feel like my heart skips a beat whenever I hear someone say destroy your negatives. I don't even think that should be an option at a lab for them to destroy your negatives. You should keep your negatives. I have this file thing that I get from Walmart. There's a pack of 100 that you can get for like $15. It keeps your film really nice, really clean. You can put it up to the light. You can see your negatives. You can see what film stock you was shot on. And I also use a Sharpie to write on the top here. This is not a good example because I didn't write on this one. I have another one right here that I wrote on. I write the film stock name, what camera I shot it on, what type of photography I did, and also the date that I got it scanned. I have a big binder here. As you can see, this binder is almost getting full, and this binder is only for 2023, which shows you how much I've shot just here alone. But yeah, keep your stuff organized. Make sure you keep your negatives because you never know when you need them down the line. The fifth thing that I would suggest is try to learn to do things yourself. When I first started, I would buy the film from the lab, get it developed at the lab, get it scanned at the lab. Buying the film is about $10 to $15 if you're shooting black and white. If you're shooting color, it's about $15 to $20. If you're getting it developed at the lab, you're spending another $10, which is at that point maybe $25. If you're getting scanned at the labs, another $10, which is $35 to $40 a roll. That's a lot, right? If you're shooting a lot of film like I do, if you plan on shooting a lot of film, it starts to add up pretty quickly and you're like, oh man, this film thing is actually kind of expensive. But if you can scan stuff yourself, you're saving $10. If you can develop it yourself, you're saving $10. If you can bulk load film yourself, you're saving a lot more money, right? So learning to do things yourself is also helps you learn more about the whole process of film, helps you learn more about the whole process of photography, brings you closer to your photography. So a couple bonus tips actually is like practice focusing, right? Once you get started, there's different cameras that have different focusing systems, but practice focusing. When I first got started, I used to miss focus all the time. Right. And then I just took my camera out one day. There was no film in it. I just started practicing focusing. I had a DSLR, so the DSLR gives you a different focusing system. Right now I have on my Leica M2, I have a rangefinder system, so I practice focusing all the time. I like to know the distance between me and the subject that I'm shooting so I can focus real quick, take a shot, and just know how everything's doing. Lastly, what I want to say is that you're going to fail a lot. You're going to underexpose, you're going to overexpose, you're going to try different film stocks and be like, hey, I don't like this thing. And that's all part of the fun, right? I know you're spending money. I know you feel like you're wasting money, but the more you shoot, the better you get at it. If you make a mistake now, you're not going to make that same mistake again. I can't tell you how many mistakes I've made, how many photos I've messed up, how many different cameras that I bought that didn't work out, that didn't turn out. I have a whole graveyard here of cameras that just don't work. This is all part of the process. So enjoy the process, enjoy shooting film. And for me, it's changed my life forever. It's changed my look on life, my look on photography. It's completely changed the way that I navigate this world. And I'm happy I made that decision a year ago to exclusively shoot on film. If you want to learn more about film, if you want to learn more about my process, my journey on this film photography path, make sure you check out my blog, filmstockreel.com. I post there once a week, once every 2 weeks when I get the chance to. And that's where you can find me in between these videos. And yeah, that brings me to the end of this video. If this video has provided you any value, please make sure you do the things, hit the like button, and also subscribe to the channel, as this goes a long way to making sure I produce more content like this. Until next time, make sure you stay safe, make sure you shoot film, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.